fix your issues. Some of the things are yours to deal with. Some of them are your guys' group to discuss. But what both people have to get comfortable with is that if I tell her that I'm insecure and I'm vulnerable, it doesn't mean that she's doing something wrong, and therefore I'm telling her because I want her to change something. And the other person has to understand that if their partner says, hey, I'm vulnerable, they have to understand that the person is not saying that to make them feel bad or to make them feel guilty.
It's back to, our difference in how we interpreted I miss you. You know, like my I miss you is, hey, I'm actually excited I miss you. I like this feeling. I actually like you. But, his I miss you meant I am guilt tripping him.
Right. Yeah. And so, you have to, and this goes back to being able to communicate and clarify like what things mean, because different things mean different things to different people. Also, don't disrespect the divinity of your partner's space with other people. And we learn this, all kinds of ways. But, if your partner's going out, to go hang out with somebody else, and you're feeling kind of itchy about it, the time to talk about the vulnerability or how you're feeling is not when they're on their way out, and it's certainly not when they're out, and it's not even right when they come back. Like you want them to have that space and know that you love and encourage them for living their life and how they should. So maybe a few days later, once it's cooler, you're like, hey, I'm feeling better now, but I was really insecure about that. I don't know why. And you can have a conversation where it's not emotionally charged, and then no one will get defensive. But if
God, we've done it every single way possible under the sun.
Yeah. So we've come a long way.
There's a reason why it's taking this long.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that would be stress. That would be weight on a person who's going out. And they would feel mixed feelings about going out, and that would create resentment. If you go out on a date or you go out and meet somebody, and your partner starts texting you about how, their head hurts or how they miss you or how they're tired or whatever, you're gonna feel like, why are you telling me this now? Like, what's the motive? You know that I'm out. You know that I'm with somebody else, and then you'll start resenting them, and then you'll feel halfway uncomfortable about being out, and then nobody benefits because the person at home is not benefiting because you're not there, and the person you're out with isn't benefiting because they can see you're preoccupied, and you're not benefiting because you're in between worlds and you're pissed off. So be very mindful. And then
when you come home, it's even worse. Coming home and getting a person at home greets you with this, oh, I'm upset at you.
Yeah, you shitted on my rainbow space.
Yeah, it's not cool at all. I mean, that makes it really, really bad.
Yeah, so it takes, in this space of openness, you have to really be able to have somebody in your mental counsel that asks you, what is your goal? Like when there's certain circumstances, when you're insecure or when you want to do these things, you have to have somebody in your head go, what is your goal?
And you know what? There's it really comes down to practice. It's like practicing basketball or practicing anything else. It's like, all right, well, I have this many hours or this many days, and I'm going to occupy myself with things that I hopefully enjoy doing, and hopefully I'm going to keep my mind away from, feeling insecure so that I don't go and blow this thing up.
Right.
Because, I mean, even if you understand everything and even if you made this decision, it's not easy. This whole thing is not easy. It's never smooth. It's never, there are times it's easier, other times it's harder. But it's all practice. If it's worth it to you, then you're going to practice, you're going to put time into it, and you're eventually going to be better. It's not going to be easy. Once it's easy, I'd be suspect. I'd be like, I'm missing something here.
Right. Just like in the NBA, like being a professional athlete's never easy. One of the important things is creating the environment for honesty. And this goes for all parties in the conversation. We have to ask ourselves, if our partner's being dishonest, we have to ask ourselves before we start accusing them of this, that, and the third, we have to ask, ourselves, are we creating the environment for them to speak their truth? You know, and you can think back to the times when maybe they did speak their truth and how we reacted. Because if we don't receive their honesty with love and we react in a way that's violent or that's negative, they're not going to be encouraged to be honest.
You know what? It's exactly like it works with kids. The first time your kid, your teenager tells you something that's difficult for them to tell you, whether it's about sex, drugs, alcohol, anything, and if you flinch or if you give them this, parent reaction, they're never going to tell you again.
Right.
And it's the exact same thing. You gotta take it for their truth. It is in reality, that's their truth. And then you have a choice. All right, well, my teenager just told me that they're thinking about having sex. And if I flinch and I go all mom on them and be like, what do you mean? You're 14. Are you crazy? Then I'm guaranteed to never hear about that again. Does that mean she's not going to have sex? Hell no. It just means that she's going to do it without me knowing. And if there's a problem, I'm not going to know about it. Same exact thing with your partner. He's still going to do whatever he does. You're never going to be involved. And then eventually you'll be like, why do I not get to hear about it?
Yeah. Yeah. And also, setting and discussing boundaries, but build them with elasticity and room for agreed amendment. Because we changed. None of us are the same person now that we were 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So if people are changing, that means the chemistry is changing. That means the relationship's changing. That means there are things that may have been part of our rules or guidelines 10 years ago that aren't now. So we have to be always able to clarify, discuss, these things. Because in an open relationship or poly, it's a lot. There's a lot of different people, a lot of different teammates, and a lot of different stuff. And you will be put in a bunch of different situations. I don't know, for example, it was funny. We went to the movies, and it was me and Eula and one of our other friends that we're very close to, and one of our other friends that we're very close to, who brought one of the people she's seeing. So, they were kind of clicked up, and then it was me, Eula, and this other person, and we're like, now there's three of us. And I'm like, where should I sit? Should I sit in the middle? Should I sit to the left? And then I'm sitting in the middle, and I'm like, well, I don't want to fifth wheel this person, so should I hold both their hands? Should I just and it was just such an interesting thing. She's running a thing about either, so
of course,
I'm totally thinking about it. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna put my arms in my hands and lean forward.
I was very not proactive at not touching you.
Yeah, so it's it's interesting, and those things are gonna come up. It's new territory. It's even we'll get in. This is a good part to get into some of the challenges of being poly and maybe having a third person who's a mutual friend of ours that we're both close to and even intimate with at times. It's it's just different when you go out to dinner in this type of environment when there's three people. Where do people sit? Because there's always going to be two people on one side and one person feeling like they're being interrogated.
We're pretty good at it.
We're learning, but they've all been different.
Yeah,
right.
There's different purposes.
Different purposes, different personalities. So we'll talk about the Trinity space for a little bit, just the dynamics of three people. We're a couple, there's someone new we bring into our space, and the challenges of that. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced about that space?
That was not on your script.
No, I know. We're flowing now.
Aye. Challenges. Well, my challenges are always human element challenge. My challenge is always connecting with a person. I've learned that if I am being, my unfiltered, unedited me, I can definitely make people feel bad and insecure and inferior, and that's not a good feeling once I realize that that's how my unedited self can make people feel, that's not cool.
Yeah.
So, my challenge is to make sure that I actually put an effort into connecting and connecting honestly and connecting straight up, and being present, and not just dumping it all on your ability and interest in maintaining relationships, and me kind of being, okay, well, now I can jump in.
Right. Yeah, and I try to look at it when we have this Trinity space is like an isosceles triangle. Like when you're in that Trinity space, all three sides of that relationship have to be solid for the triangle to form where you can all three hang out in that space. And that means, me and Eula's relationship has to be solid, and not be sacrificed. It has to be respected and loved. Eula's relationship with this other person has to be solid and respected and loved. And my relationship with that other person has to be solid and respected and loved. And at no time can any lane feel like the other lane is trying to impede on the other. And that everybody feels that in different ways. So being able
Did we say it's complicated?
It is complicated. We're going to the geometry
Hurts my
now.
head right now.
So, basically what it goes into is, each one of those situations is different. Some people want to communicate more. Some people want to know specific boundaries. Some people want to flow. But we learned the hard way that not everybody wants to do it our way. So we have to learn how to listen and learn how to be versatile with how we communicate. And those are some of the difficult, harder ones. Is just, understanding that it's different. But the funny ones are just like situations like going to the movies, or, when it's movie night, like where, who's where, and eventually you sink in once you get to know everybody. But like in the beginning, it's like, I don't know, it's a new situation. Like, how do we do this? Like, what happens if,
I'm so glad it's you, because I don't think about those things.
I think about these things.
You're the Virgo.
I'm the Virgo conductor, ambassador person, but I think about that. And a lot of things that can happen are, so say I have a friend that I've been close to for a long time, and then I bring them into the space, and they meet Eula, and Eula and her develop a good friendship and stuff too. And then we have the three space. All of a sudden, there's this concern that they may have that I'm going to sacrifice our personal space for the three space, and that way they lose that direct connection with me. And that's been it's been a challenge, because the main thing is time, space, and energy. There's only so much time and space to deal with and to divvy out. So you gotta be mindful.
That's my whole premise of, I cannot handle that many relationships, just because I also need my own space, and I also have all these other things I have to do. So I'm like, I'm cool. We can limit this to, whatever I can handle.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's fun. It's challenging. But the thing that really helps us through is work very hard at developing conflict resolution skills, and continue to grow and develop more conflict resolution skills. In my analogy,
hopefully conflict preventing skills.
Yes, preventative maintenance is one of my favorite things ever. But one of those is this. I like to say, fight hard to not fight, and that's hard in relationships. Imagine if you come home from work and you're tired and you're cranky, you're pissed off, and then I come home tired, pissed off, and in a bad mood, and you say something snappy to me, and I say something snappy to you. It's really hard to not just go in and be like, well, fuck it then. We're just going to get in it. So at the higher level of relationship and loving, like, you have to fight yourself to don't go in. Like,
and this applies to monogamy.
Yeah, it applies to everything, like any relationship. But it's like, when someone comes at you a way that you feel sideways, like, you have to really like struggle to remember, like, what's our goal, and act from that space. And me and you have gotten better at it more so in the last year than almost before. We're like, we'll feel it coming, and we'll just be like, and we'll just like sit, and we can both feel that both of us are really trying to not get in that space and to walk things back. And
I mean, I've had to like get off chat and turn chat off and go physically walk away.
Yeah.
And just like physically separate and not talk.
Yeah.
Just to prevent that block coming out when it shouldn't even come out. And then You take an hour and you're like, okay, well, I'm not mad anymore. Okay, we can talk.
Yeah, a lot of times it can be little things like, have I eaten? Have I slept? Am I feeling insecure? Have I received the love that I need for today? Have I thought about my gratefuls? Like, am I acting from a state of an ungrateful space? And then, those are some of the challenges and things. So, we'll go into just quick myths, and then we'll take another break, and we'll kind of get into emails and stuff. So, one of the myths is just because we're non-monogamous, like we must have sex with everybody all the time. Like every one of our friends is like some play buddy or something, and that's not the case. It's not about having sex with anybody and everybody. It's rarely even about sex. It's about the freedom of decision-making process and to have the quality relationships that you desire. For real. Okay, let me make sure this thing's still recording. Is it recording? Looks like it's recording. Okay, good. Let me just make sure it's recording. Hold on. Okay. Make sure. Okay.
Mm.
All right. Yeah. And that's really, one of the myths. The other one is